Call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody here this evening. And we'll get down to business. First, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know who I asked last time. Larry, you want to lead us tonight? Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. We have the approval of the agenda. We do have one modification on finance. Ordinance 2021-04. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I got the wrong one. No, I'm sorry. It's the June 22nd regular meeting. We need to pull those minutes and we'll make a modification, and later I will put that on as item 4.1, minutes correction, right under administration on after consent. That's the only change that I have. Does anyone else have anything?
I'd like to pull 2021-10, please.
All right, 2021-10, and I'll put that as item 2 behind minutes correction. Anything else? Okay, with those.
We need to pull the June 10th closed session. The June 10th work session, excuse me.
We need to pull that.
We do.
And why?
There's a correction for May under the closed session of the minutes, where it's, we need to add May 20th to be added there, where it states Wyatt Robbins is archiving March 18th and June 10th. We also need to add May 20th.
All right, I'll call on you when we do that. Right now, I'll put it June 22nd and June 10th, and both of those will fall under 4.1 minutes correction. So we're pulling June 22nd, June 10th, and also ordinance 2021-10. Anything else? All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with modifications?
So made.
Second.
Made and second. All in favor? Thank you. Public comment. We did not have anyone sign up for this evening. So now we'll go to the consent agenda, remaining items.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we go to minutes correction for the June 22nd meeting, and that is under finance. In the minutes, it states that Preservation Zebulon was awarded $500. They were actually awarded $1,000. And that correction, it's correct in the finance department, it's just not correct in the minutes. So I'll ask for a motion to approve that modification.
I move to approve.
Second.
Made second. Comments or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And then now the June 10th, and I'm going to yield to Stacy for that one.
Again, we are going to add, May 20th to that. So Wyatt Robbins, Yates and Ponton will archive the closed session minutes for March 18th, June 10th, and we're going to add May 20th to that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that one? Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
The motion is stated. We have the May 20th date.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made, second. Comments or discussion? All in favor? And thank you. And now we go to the 2021-10.
Okay, so under the staff reports, it says that the 2010 for equipment storage. And that's different than the 2021-10? Is that correct, Stacy? That is different from the two different staff report budget amendments?
I don't see
Yes,
it.
2021-10 is Public Works, Building and Grounds Maintenance, Materials and Supplies.
Where did you get 2020-10? I'm not showing that in this agenda.
It says the staff report, rollovers from fiscal year 2020. Chris, do you know what we're talking about? Okay.
Oh, looks like that's it.
Oh, it's under tax report?
Yes, ma'am. I believe what we got there is a typo. That should have been 2021-10. It was right on the agenda, but my staff report.
Okay.
It's a typo.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that that should be 2021-11 right below it?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay. All right. So it says $4,372 for equipment storage.
Ma'am?
But then when I'm looking at it, the actual ordinance, it says property and project management as well as materials and supplies. So help me understand how that's equipment storage.
It's just where the department is labeled. Public Works got reorganized last year with some property management is the 500 line item, and the 520 is operations. So basically, we pay for the storage shed out of two different departments, and that's why you got to reference the two different names.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do we need to amend that typo?
Oh.
We need.
No? Okay.
Well, it's correct here. Is it correct? Is it wrong in the?
It's wrong in the staff report. The minutes were correct. Though the agenda was correct, so it was the right ordinance number.
Well, the staff report could be corrected by you, right?
Yes, sir.
Without the board.
I
I would assume
yes, sir.
so, because it's not an ordinance of the board. So just, we'll reference the adoption of 2021-10.
Okay.
I still think you need to, correct me wrong, Lisa or Stacy, you still, since it was pulled from the agenda, you'll need to adopt 21-10.
That's what I just said.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
No,
We
you
got
told me
that.
you never got confused, Chris.
We know we were laughing when we said that.
No, that's exactly what I just said. We need to affirm, have a motion to adopt 2021-10.
Okay.
Since it was actually pulled from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
So I move to adopt 2021-10.
All right. Is there a second? Second. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
okay.
All in favor? Thank you. You may find it interesting, I was doing some reading, that in something of this size, you really don't need a second. I'm still going to continue to call for a second, but one is automatically 20%. So I didn't know if y'all knew that or not, but I'm going to continue to call for it because it shows support. But just one of those curiosities of Robert's rules. Anyway, all right. Now we go to new business, Parks and Recreation, Ordinance 2021-14.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. I come before you tonight to discuss the consideration of approval of ordinance 2021-14 to adopt park regulations. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board developed and adopted standard park rules designed for the safety and enjoyment of park users. These rules are available on the town website, and signage will be placed in each of our parks. At present, the police department has limited authority to enforce regulations established by the Parks and Recreation Department unless a specific existing law is in place for the rule in question. To best equip our law enforcement with the ability to apply the established rules is to adopt an ordinance allowing them to enforce regulations provided by signage at each park. The ordinance also establishes park hours and limits group activity and public events to allow only those approved by the Parks and Recreation Director. The Parks and Recreation Director will work with the Events Committee, an interdepartmental team, to review public events to consider effects on public health, safety, and recreation. The proposed ordinances will meet both growing smart and small town life goals of the Zebulon 2030 strategic plan and will also aid in public safety at our parks. Expenses to develop signs are already accounted for in the existing budget, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, you know, I talked to you about this, and I've been sitting here reading it, and I'm fine with the full intent. It seems to me, though, that under A, hours of operation, under 1, where it says, no person remain, enter any park presented between the hours of dusk and dawn, unless, maybe add, unless otherwise posted or something of that nature, so that it's clear. What drove this was, in my mind, a lot of people use the tennis courts and they're lit. And so if you took a strict interpretation, and I understand what your intent is, so I'm just trying to make it clear, they couldn't go over and play tennis at night. So,
Yeah, I agree.
so something referring, I'm not exactly sure how to word it. If you have some suggestion, I'm all ears, but unless otherwise posted or something referencing C with signage below.
Yeah, I think that is one option. You also have, under the park regulations and signage, there's area here that all, or other signs regulating the use of park areas by the public may be established throughout the parks when such regulation has been established by the Parks and Recreation Department. So I think you're already covered in that area.
I don't disagree with you. All I'm saying is that if somebody was reading that and they didn't read on, so this just would refer them to that exception.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, and I think in your specific example of the tennis courts, there's specific rules to the tennis courts that are posted there. And so from our perspective, you know, either option works. We can still accomplish what we need to do with the police department and their needs to enforce the ordinance and the rules of the park as well.
I would still suggest unless otherwise posted or something of that nature to go under A1, just referring them down that there are exceptions.
I'm fine with that.
Make
Because
my-
you're just, so that if people haven't read through the entire
Right,
ordinance, that they would see right away that there was,
yeah.
yeah, okay, I gotcha.
You make a motion to that effect?
I'd like to amend ordinance 2021-14 to include verbiage as suggested by Mayor Matheny.
Okay. All right. Second. Second. Anybody else have any discussion on that? All in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Okay, resolution 2021-01, Autumn Lakes. Chris?
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight I come in front of you to ask you to consider the acceptance of maintenance of Autumn Lake Phase 2 streets. The Phase 2 streets consist of 6 street sections, 1.35 miles, 9,900 linear foot of storm drainage. It is about a 5% increase in our existing street system, so it's one of our largest we've accepted to date. It will put a dedicated value on our fixed assets of $1.38 million. The project is in compliance with our town specifications for streets and storm drainage. It is also in compliance with the TOC requirements that approve the plans. There's a site line posted for the remaining items that need to be completed of about $512,000. This on file with the planning department, and staff recommends you approve resolution 2021-01.
Okay,
Does that answer any questions?
question?
So the Powell bill revenue is going to pay for less than 61% of the projected repaving costs at today's prices.
That is correct.
So,
Historically, Powell bill has never paid for 100% of street paving projects.
do you have any kind of anticipation of what that's going to run the town in 20 years? Because we have approved an awful lot of construction for streets recently, and that's all going to come up for repaving in 20 years. And I'm just concerned about where we're getting ourselves into financially, because we're going to be coming up with at least 39% of those costs from taxpayer money, I'm assuming, and it's all going to be coming due around the same time.
Yes, ma'am, that's pretty consistent throughout the years. We are adding streets. There's a certain amount coming due each time. Yes, there is going to be a burden on the town at some point about all those coming due potentially at one time. Maybe there's a bond issue or something that we could take it and spread that paving out over time with all those new subdivisions coming on. It is going to be expensive, and it's an expensive asset to maintain.
So because some of these are going to be in developments, I would assume that these street ratings are not going to degrade at the same as, say, Arundel Avenue is going to. So is that 20 years projected with the use that they anticipate, or, okay.
Yes, ma'am. The design basis for the design that we have, we work with developers on is for 20-year useful life. Typically, we're going to get a minimum of 20 years. That's what we're seeing in a lot of the other subdivisions now that we're going back to. Yes, Arundel Avenue, which you reference, is a DOT street, but yes, because of the traffic loading and the traffic type that's on it, it will see a lesser useful life that will need paving more frequently than a residential street.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? Okay, is there a motion to adopt 2021-01?
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 2021-01.
Second.
Okay, other questions or comments? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have board appointments, and
We got one more.
you have one more?
Traffic signal agreement.
Traffic signals.
The what?
NCDOT traffic signal agreement
I'm sorry, it's not on mine.
is number 2 under,
Go ahead, it's not on my agenda. And actually, what, did you add that in the second agenda?
this is the one, this is for,
Okay, that's why, I'm still
August
working off the
18th.
first one, and I didn't catch that had been added. So,
No problem, sir.
my apologies, doggone it, I made a mistake too.
All
right, Chris, go for
it. And, yes, tonight we're coming before you to consider the traffic review and inspection agreement with NCDOT. The agreement that you have in your packet is the standard municipal agreement that Division 5 uses with all entities. Basically, the agreement outlines the design, the construction, and maintenance of the traffic signal that we're proposing to build at Green Page Road and North Arundel Avenue. A little background about what we're actually going to be building. The town will construct a traffic signal with wooden poles. We'll also install a northbound left turn lane with 200 feet of storage. We will also install a southbound left turn lane at 100 feet of storage. Throughout the design process and the construction, the NCDOT will be reviewing these plans and visiting the site for construction. Upon completion of the construction project, NCDOT will accept the construction, and then NCDOT will get to maintain it for its entirety. Something to remember about this project, that this project is funded by transportation impact fees. This is the first of probably 2 agreements that we'll be bringing to you. The second one will be Shepherd School Road in Old Bun. Right now, as this project stands, it is not on any of NCDOT's priority list. And so if we're not moving forward with, which we deem as our #1 congested congested intersection, this project will probably not be funded for 10 years. So staff recommends that we approve the review and inspection agreement with NCDOT authorizing the town manager and his designee to enter into this agreement. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
And the total for the traffic signal that Zebulon is going to be responsible for?
The construction amount is $255,000 is what we approved in the budget this year.
Okay. So for all the townspeople out there, that's why we don't have traffic signals at every single corner. All right, so after the 20-year life of the traffic signal, who's going to be responsible for replacing that? Is that going to be the town again?
No, ma'am, it should be DNT. Once that data set is dedicated to NCDOT, they get it for their life in entirety.
So we build it, they're going to take care of it.
They'll maintain it. Actually, recommended, the cost we got from DOT, the annual cost is about $10,000 a year to maintain a traffic signal. And also, for example, when uninsured motorist hits it on year 1, they are responsible for putting it back. So we are spending some money up front, but they are assuming some long-term liability.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? Motion? Want to table it?
Well, I definitely move to accept the NCDOT traffic signal agreement.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? All right. Thank you.
Guys,
There's not anything else, is there?
You're not going to...
All right, I think now we're down to board appointments. We have, first, the planning board, and we have some of the candidates here this evening that want to speak for these positions, and then others not here. So what I'm going to do is start with the planning board. We have 1 in-town vacancy and 1 ETJ vacancy, and just as a reminder, we recommend the ETJ person to Wake County, and they make that appointment. They very typically accept who we recommend, but it is their final decision and not ours. So I'm going to start with the in-town vacancy. We have 1 position, and we have 4 applicants. So, and I would ask people to be concise and as brief as you can. Don't get long-winded where you get out of breath. But I'll call first Michael Germano if he's here.
Good evening, all. Thank you for allowing me to come back here tonight and restate my interest to continue serving on the planning board of the town. It's been a great honor so far. I think we've done a lot of great work so far, but it's been a brief period for me. I think we got a lot of work to do still. As a town business owner and architect, I think I offer a lot of expertise to continue on the board and continue to work with these developers and whatnot to bring the town together and make it grow great. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Gilbert Todd Jr. withdrew his application today.
He withdrew? Okay. I know, did y'all hear that? Gilbert Todd Jr. withdrew his application today.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Manley Harris?
Good evening, everyone. I'm a resident here in Zebulon. I've been staying in Weaver's Pond for the last 2 years. I've been in this town since I moved here. I've been a member of Wake County for the last, I would say, 3 years. I stayed in Garner. I've been a resident of Durham County. I'm an engineer at Verizon. I think I bring fresh ideas as far as different ideas as far as, for instance, how you guys are talking about widening roads, as far as opportunities to come up with something in regards to funding various projects or whatever. And I think that overall, I think the opportunity to serve my community and invest in my community would be a good idea for you guys to think about and give me an opportunity to just give back to my community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Dexter DeAndre Privet.
Evening, Mayor and board members. I'm grateful for the opportunity to plead my case for a space on the planning board. I want to say that I am a lifetime resident here in Zebulon, North Carolina. Born and raised, attended school here until high school. Of course, I went to East Wake High School. I work here locally as a funeral director at William Tony's Funeral Home, which allows me to speak and deal with the community. I also live in one of the largest established subdivisions here in Zebulon in the town, which is Pine View, where I'm active, speaking with residents there, dealing with town issues and hearing them, shall I say, not necessarily dealing with them. I think, as he said, I bring fresh eyes as well and a voice from the community, specifically kind of sort of my age range, so just being honest with you, and the concerns of people of my age range here in Zebulon. I also work for the North Carolina Department of Public Safety at Central Prison. I've been there 11 years. I'm also a general instructor backed by the North Carolina Department of Justice, where I develop, review, and implement policies. So I have a lot of experience developing policies that affect people as a whole. And I think that would be a plus here in the town of Zebulon, someone that has experience dealing with public policy, interested in land use, all of that. But I won't take too much time, as the mayor said. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, I think what we'll do is tackle each of these as they're presented, because later on, there's some of these folks that said, well, if I don't get appointed to this, I'd like to, second shot at something else. So what is your pleasure on appointment to the town, the one vacancy in town from the people that just spoke?
I make a motion to reappoint Michael Germano.
Okay, second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? You are? Okay, so there's no one opposed? Okay, thank you. Michael Germano, you're back on the board, and thank you for your service. Okay, now ETJ, we have one, and this one should be fairly easy.
Mr. Mayor,
Pardon?
we've updated the staff report. There's, Larry Ray withdrew his
Larry Ray
application.
withdrew. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so we don't have an ETJ.
All right.
applicant.
That will still need to be filled, though?
It will.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll be later on that we'll get somebody from ETJ. When did that happen? Was that in the new staff report?
In the new one? Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other surprise? That's what I get for not printing the new one, just going with the old. Okay. All right, we have Parks and Recreation. Are there any changes to that? Before I dig into it.
Don't believe so.
Okay. All right, we have 2 vacancies on the Parks and Rec Board. We'll start with Ray Fulgham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. I've been in Zebulon since 1975 and have over 50 years in education and recreation, retiring with 30 years of recreation from the city of Raleigh. And I've served on the planning board for 2 or 3 terms, and also was just on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and would look forward to serving in that capacity again. Have a great deal of interest in the trails, greenway trails, and improvement of programs for the citizens of Zebulon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, Andy Wren.
Mr. Mayor, we've got Michelle Glidewell, who submitted an application. She's not on that old one. So I have comments to read for her.
All right, then. All right, well, let's finish
Okay.
this one.
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for letting me speak today. So I am the outsider. My husband was from this area, rural community. We have lots of family here. He has since passed away. But I have been involved with government contracting since the 80s, worked with Park and Rec programs in many states throughout our military service, volunteered in community programs, military programs here in Zebulon, and I'm really looking forward to being able to provide some great insight as to what I've seen and done in other places throughout the country. I've ran Park and Rec programs for Omaha, Nebraska, and Nevada, Iowa, and then in Kansas City, Kansas as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't know if they want to speak again or not, but they're welcome to. Manley? Nothing else to say? Thank you. Dexter? You good too? All right. So Manley and Dexter had these as their second choice if they were not.
Mr. Mayor, can I read these
Oh, I'm
comments?
sorry, we have
I'm
one
sorry.
more. Go ahead.
Okay. She asked me to read her answers that were submitted with the application. The question is, describe extent in meetings attended. I try to attend all scheduled and special meetings. Why do you want to serve on this board of commission? I grew up in this area in Knightdale and own a business outside of Wendell. I have a vested interest in making sure Zebulon is a great place to live and raise a family. Why would you be an asset to this board or commission? I understand that change and growth are inevitable and would like to help guide the department through these changes. What are your qualifications? I have experience guiding a business through growth and change through the years. What areas of concern would you like to see the board or commission address? Controlled, manageable growth while maintaining the local flavor. Encourage the growth of local small businesses. That was Michelle Glidewell's comments.
What's her name?
Michelle Glidewell.
Okay.
She's seeking reappointment. She's currently on the board and she's seeking reappointment.
Okay. So we have 5 candidates. What's your pleasure? Two vacancies.
I move to appoint Andy Wren to the Parks and Rec Board. Do we have to do both of them at the same time?
No, you don't really have to. I was just waiting to see if anybody was going to say.
Okay.
I'd like to recommend Dexter Privet.
Okay. Okay, so we have 2 motions on the floor for 2 people, Andy Wren and Dexter Privet. There's a second.
Second.
Okay.
Which motion? Which motion did you second?
Oh, there's 2 motions,
There are
2
two motions.
recommendations that
Well,
will
there's
appoint.
one motion with 2 people.
Right, 1 motion, 2 people.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Other comments? All in favor? And the motion carries. So we got Andy and Dexter.
Welcome aboard.
Pardon?
I told them welcome aboard.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to say, and that I really appreciate everybody applying for these positions because I like to see them get involved in the community, and it's good to see new people coming on board. Okay, there is 1 regular and 1 ETJ vacancy on the Board of Adjustment. Kathy Miller is currently the alternate in-town member and is seeking reappointment as a regular in-town member that was vacated by Larry Laux and expires June 30th, 22. Is Kathy here? Okay. Since Dexter just got appointed, I'm assuming you don't want to be on the Board of Adjustment too. All
Hey,
right.
Manley, what do you think about the Board of Adjustments? It's awesome. Yeah?
Okay. Gilbert Todd withdrew, and
He withdrew from the planning board, so he's the current member. His term hasn't expired.
okay. So Gilbert's not in the mix because his term
Has not
runs,
expired.
so we actually only have one.
We have one regular in-town vacancy and one alternate, but that's for ETJ. So if Kathy is appointed as the in-town member, there'd be an alternate in-town vacancy.
Okay, but we don't have anyone applying for that position right now.
For alternate, no. They're applying for the regular position.
Okay, so basically, we have one person for the in-town vacancy, which is Kathy Miller. She's not here. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we appoint Kathy Miller as our in-town member. Second.
Made and second. Comments? All in favor? Okay, so now we have actually a in-town alternate to appoint, which we do not have anyone that's applied for it. And then going back up, we also have an ETJ appointment for the planning board. We do not have an applicant for that as well. So there's some homework, folks. Go out.
So it's an alternate for the Board of Adjustment?
That's correct. Since Kathy was appointed as the regular in-town, there's now a vacancy in the alternate position.
We don't have an applicant for that. So we have two openings that we do not have applicants for. ETJ on the planning board and alternate in-town on the Board of Adjustment. Okay.
Again, Manley?
Say that again.
Okay. I was seeing if he wanted to amend his interest in the Board of Adjustments.
Okay. All right, I think that's it. You don't have any more, do you? Okay. All right, well, that's what we have for tonight. I, again, thank everybody that applied. I know we just don't have room to appoint everyone, so, but we appreciate you applying and come back later on. So I'd ask for board comments. Larry, I'll start with you.
I guess we need to monitor the budget. You saw the universities are starting to close, and the talk on campuses, they'll all be closed by October 1st. So I'm not quite sure what that's going to do to their budgets or the state budget, but stay tuned.
I agree. We had a very long discussion at the Wake County Mayor's last night about monitoring budgets. So that's something we can talk about some more if you want to. Okay, Annie, you have anything? Deborah? Diana?
I know that a lot of, well, most everyone now has their kids back to school, and I realize that most schools are at least starting remotely, and I just would like to acknowledge that this is a big sacrifice for both teachers and parents, and I appreciate what all of our teachers are doing to make sure that the children get fed knowledge, but I also appreciate the sacrifices that parents have to make sure that their children are in a position to be able to learn. And whether they plan on sending their kids back to school when it's available, or whether they plan on continuing to keep their children at home, I want to applaud them for that tough decision because I know that it was difficult to make. Hang in there, everybody. We're going to get through this together.
Thank you. Glenn? Nothing? Okay. Joe, manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Just for the benefit of the viewing audience, typically when we bring forward to the board information, I'll have a monthly meeting with them to prep them on topics that are coming their way the upcoming month or months in advance. And then we have work sessions where it gives the opportunity for the board to discuss publicly and hear from each other on those topics. We don't like to use work sessions as a time to make a decision. Those are times really to get into the details of particular topics and to vet them, and then save those decision times for regular meetings like this. As with almost everything related to COVID-19, ideas, plans, schedules, like I just talked about, get scuttled. And so we are going to bring something before you at tomorrow night's work session, where if it's possible, we're going to ask that you give us some direction and make a decision. And so as best we can, while we're building the plane as it's flying, we wanted to give you a heads up of an agenda item that's going to be placed on your work session. So I'd like to recognize our Parks and Rec Director, Sheila Long, to give you more information about that. That will conclude my report.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the board. I appreciate this opportunity to share with you a little bit more in advance of your possible decision tomorrow. As you know, Shana just shared with us that there's been some tough decisions around sending kids back to school, keeping them home or not, and keeping them home to do virtual learning, maybe just for the semester, through the entire school year. There's a lot of challenges involved with the return of this school year. With that said, there are parents that have expressed a need in our community that they have childcare concerns. They have concerns with being able to get their children's virtual learning done while they continue to work. And so with that said, we have been coordinating with the YMCA of Wake County. They have been operating like childcare programs since March, so they have experience in this. They have served over 2,000 children across the county over this time period of COVID, offering these childcare opportunities so that parents can work and ensure that their children have a safe learning environment still. So what we're going to propose, like Joe referenced, we're kind of building this as we're flying. As with anything in COVID, time is of the essence right now, as school started yesterday. And so we are going to be proposing entering into an agreement with the YMCA to give them access to some of the rooms at the community center at no charge. However, there will be a reduced rate offered to our community. And for example, I talked with a neighboring community and who was in the same discussions with the YMCA for the same exact program, and they were given a rate of $200 per child per week. So we were able to get that price down to $128, which is very reasonable for the services that they're going to get and to be able to ensure that the children will have these remote learning opportunities. So we'll have more information for you tomorrow, and we'll also have an agreement for us to discuss. We've been working with at the town attorney to ensure that the town is protected and that we would be entering into an agreement that benefits the town.
Question?
Yes, sir.
How many children do they think they can accommodate based upon our space?
It's not even necessarily based on our space, but more so restrictions. We're going to be looking at 24 to 30 max kids that we would be able to support.
And how much interest has come from the community or expressed a need? Do we have a number?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. They're in my report for tomorrow, but we had over 110 people take our survey. And if my memory serves me correctly, nearly 50 families responded that, yes, I need assistance. 23 responded they weren't sure yet. But we had, based on the number of children that were identified that needed a space, I can't recall if it was 70 or 100, and I'm sorry I don't have that exact number, but if we have space for about 24 and we had interest, and that was in a 2-day period nonetheless.
How are we going to be able to decide who gets in and who doesn't? I mean, this could clearly be something that the need is there and the finances aren't.
So that's a great question. The registration program is going to be first come, first serve, and the YMCA has been very good about getting their message out. And part of that message is being a part of something called the FAST Initiative. And the FAST Initiative encompasses the recreation departments across the town, other providers, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Wake County Public School Systems, and Marbles Children's Museum. And so those are things we've all come together to talk through how we were going to approach this, and as well as how we were going to get funding. The plan for the FAST Initiative all along, and continues to be the case, is that funding be sought, and it has been acquired, and they continue to seek additional funding to keep the price low, but also to offer scholarships. So this agreement with the YMCA, one, gets our price down significantly lower than what it would be otherwise, but it also opens the door for some funding for those in need. And so the YMCA has been very good about sharing that message, and that would continue in our community.
And it's 128 per student per week.
That's
Okay.
actually low compared to what other providers in our community right now are offering. Right now, it's about 150 or more.
Okay, thank you so much.
I know you reference coordinating with the town attorney. My only concern would be the town's liability in such an endeavor, as far as kids getting sick or whatever. But I'm sure that's one of the things we need to look into.
Yeah, and I think what we've done here is made it very clear that this is their program. We're providing space, and then the agreement that we've worked with the town attorney, and Eric may wish to share as well. But we've tried to be very clear that all safety protocols, all training, all operations and aspects of that program are the responsibility of the YMCA.
So we're just providing the space, basically.
Yes, and I would say, I mean, I think that that's a risk that we have to weigh the return on investment. And the YMCA, as I mentioned, they served over 2,000 kids this summer on an ongoing basis. And yes, there were some circumstances where they had COVID concerns come up. But overall, the return on investment far exceeded those concerns for them.
And speaking to Shannon's question, actually the participants is their selection, not ours.
Great. It's a registration, so it would go very much like ours on a first come, first serve basis.
But I mean, it's their call, as who gets in, who doesn't. I heard you say first come, first serve, but still.
Yeah, and I think if it brings you, I mean, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen, but we ran summer camp all summer. There are certain programs and certain activities that we didn't do that we made transitions from because we wanted to make sure that our participants, their families, and our staff were as safe as possible. We successfully operated those programs without any COVID concerns. So we hope that that's something that would continue, but we also recognize that is a risk associated with moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a closed session as allowed by North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11A6 for personnel discussion. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you, folks. Appreciate you being here tonight.